Okay, so I'm Patty Stockman, the National Records Officer, and as you know, the National Archives ERA, Electronic Records Archive, is the way that we're doing business and transferring records these days. If you're going to transfer electronic records to the National Archives, you or people at your center will need to get access by requesting a user account for ERA, following the instructions. I've got a lot of information linked to the NASA Records Management website under, I think it's under Policy and Procedures, for learning about ERA and also for requesting a user account, etc. So if you're not speaking, I'd like you to please mute your phones because we are recording the session, and this recorder is recording it through my PC. That's the way WebEx records. So any noise that my PC hears over the speakerphone is going to be recording. And the recording, I apologize in advance, it kind of has some gray noise behind it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that there are a lot of the help that's available through the National Archives is not as helpful as it needs to be. And therefore, the folks in Constellation Program have completed actually the transfer of all of their electronic records from the program office. And they have just really been pathfinding for us on using ERA, and they've generated a lot of lessons learned and a lot of experience. And they're all dispersing to the four winds after this week, because as you know, Constellation Program has ended. So I asked them if they would be willing to talk to us about how to actually transfer the records. So this would be after those of you who have electronic records have generated transfer requests within ERA. They've gone through our review cycles internally, and I have approved it and submitted it to the National Archives for approval. Sharmila Bhatia currently is the person who will approve each TR, and after that happens, we're ready to transfer records. And there are three different methods to transfer electronic records to the National Archives. The first is actually burn them onto external media and send the National Archives that external media. They'll return it if we send them like a hard drive, for example, after they take the records off. I think Sharmila said this is actually their preferred method of receiving records, but they have these other direct transfer methods that we've used, and I think are a really good idea, plus it saves the expense of the external media and the trouble of having to mail it. So the second method of transferring is a direct upload of the records through a web interface, an HTTP interface. And then the third method, and that's only for a volume of electronic records under a gigabyte. Once we get up to a gigabyte, then they want us to use the SFTP, which is Secure File Transfer Protocol method of transferring. And so Constellation personnel who are online and willing to show us how to do this are Bob DiBernardo, who's really been the coordinator of one of the main coordinators of most of the Constellation records transfers, and Terry English also. Both are at JSC. JSC is, since the program office was there, has had the lion's share of records to be transferred in the Constellation so far. So with all that said, I'm going to turn control of the driver's seat here to, who do I need to give it to, Barb, you or to Terry?
Why don't you give it to me first? Barb.
Okay. If I can see here how to do that. Okay.
Patty, this is Terry. You should just be able to right-click on Barb's name.
Okay. Yes, yeah. Somebody told me that yesterday. And I want to control?
Just make sure that.
Oh, there it is. I got it. The controls to Barb.
All right. And Patty, is this correct? You want us to just pick up after the TR has been approved?
Well, if there's something through that you want to brief us, I'm sure that's fine. It wouldn't hurt to go ahead and brief whatever you want to tell us. Because you've accumulated so much wisdom, and since I don't transfer personally any records, but rather you guys do it at the centers, that's why I wanted to have you explain.
Well, why don't I just pull up two of the TRs? I'll pull up one of the TRs that what we're going to be ingesting today, moving over to the ERA, and then we'll just talk through the new things in case people had seen the ERA system before they did their update in August, and just make sure they understand what those subtle changes were. And then we'll go on and we'll create what we call as a package, which is basically a set of files that can be moved over in chunks. Those are the technical terms, obviously. And then last is we'll show us the two demonstrations of how to actually ingest using the two methods that Patty said. So you should be able to see my desktop. It's pretty clear. And stop me if there's any questions. And I thank MissionOps because they had two transfer requests that just got approved this week, so we actually have a little bit of data that we're going to show you. The two requests that were done, you'll see if you PDF the transfer request now, they look totally different than they did before their update. This is a transfer request for, like I said, MissionOps. It is pretty standard as far as the data is unrestricted. So these records are not restricted in this case. Everyone probably remembers, because these are electronic records, it is the site where the servers reside, so that's why we have Marshall. And then these are the two electronic, the ERA and this NWME are the two items that we've been told to use by Sharmila. The first example of the unrestricted is 622 megabytes. And this is actually going to be the one that we demo with a secure file transfer protocol, the SFTP that Terry's going to do. And then the last part of this, you'll see the contact information. This one actually shows up as the originator, both for creating the TR as well as approving it, and then the other contact information. We have used whoever the institutional records manager as the top line, so this one's Pam here at JSD. And then at the end, once it's been approved, you'll see the signatory information, but when we create it, obviously it's still draft and you won't see it. The one thing when you print or PDF the transfer request, they now have a attachment area. You do not see that when you PDF and print the transfer request, but it will show up when you open it up. So that's just real quick one of the transfer requests that we're going to go over. If anyone wants any questions about it, there's pretty explicit guidelines, and I am going to update it one last time and put it out in the library, and also make sure that Patty has it, as well as all of the institutional RM folks. Questions about the transfer request? I can do a quick call it up. It's not that big a deal. Okay. The other part, I'm gonna go ahead. I've already logged in. I had to change my password yesterday, of course, and so I'm not trusting myself to remember it very often. So when you log in, most of you have already seen this. The other one thing I wanted to tell you is if you do have a transfer request, that's out there, you can create a new one from a copy of an existing one, and that was a new feature with the August release. So that's a good feature. So once you have a good template, you don't have to remember it or refer to the guidelines. So in our particular case, we have two PRs that have been approved. One of them is 108, and the other is 109. And as I said, these are submission opt forms that they've given us permission to demo. We're going to move over the CSV files. When you create, as you guys know, when you create the records that you're transferring, you have to have an index of what the records are, and then whatever metadata that you can provide for them, including an acronym list. So we just created the CSV with the acronym list. So we're going to start, and I have to remember, I forgot which one I gave Terry, and which one I kept for myself.
108, Barb.
Is mine or yours?
It's mine. 108 is mine, 109 is yours.
Right, thank you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and I have sent Patty, and several of the other folks already have it, but I have already sent her the instructions that we put together. The first one is this one about transfer submittal, transferring the package via HTTPS. And so it's got pretty explicit step-by-step. And so she's got this won't change. So the first thing that we have to do when we have, you will get notification both via Patty and or Sharmila, as well as you can see these notifications here. And they come up on the home page, so you can always go to the home page, and if you sort here on the date created to make it the most recent messages come up. With the latest release in August, they also now have the emails that go to your email account. If you don't like getting emails, you can go to the profile, and there's a way to turn them off. There's three different items at the bottom of your profile that talk about the email notifications and where you want to see them. So if you don't like the emails, the one bad thing is, because we're all NASA and we all have the same roles, if I create something, everyone with the same role gets those same messages. So you might get blasted. Or at least that's what we've seen. Now maybe they're continuing to fix that.
And I'd like to insert a comment here regarding the role. When you request your user account, you'll want to request the role if you're going to create a transfer request. You'll want the role of transferring official. If you need to be able to actually upload the electronic records, one of these techniques that Barb and Terry are demoing, you need to request the role of electronic records transfer staff. Thanks. Go ahead, Barb.
Okay. So once you've gotten this notification, what they have done is set up the target folder, which is why they need to know the size and everything else. And so at this point, you're ready to start creating the packages. You can create multiple packages for a transfer request, and each package can be up to the number that we just mentioned. So I could actually create things bigger than 1 gig, and there's still some question. I think they say now it's 2 gig, but I can do more as long as the packages are under that. So to create the package, we've already used the search and we've already used the create the transfer request. Now in the same ERA system, we're going to do the packaging tool, and this you need to do regardless whether you're going to use the SFTP or the HTTPS. So we're going to create a package, and hopefully ERA will participate with us. You will get this message, and I always tell people just do the very least security and then you're safe, because sometimes it asks the question different ways. So it says block potentially unsafe items, and we want everything to be very unsafe. And this is recorded, isn't it? Yep. But this is what we need to have so that we can, so that Java can build its one-time environment and work with it. And it's every time you log in, and maybe there's some settings you can do, but the first time you come in, you will have to put your name and your email. I also put my phone just in case. Just in case they have to call about something, so they can find me. So once you set this up, it stays, and then this is where you tell it how you're going to send it. So for both, like I said, the SFTP and the HTTPS use this VLAN transmission. And then you have to search for your transfer or request ID. And so we are going to, I mean, I've done so many of them, I know the numbers pretty much, that you can like do the agency search and then call up the different numbers or whatever else. But I know that this one is 109. So we're going to search for it, and it should find it right away. If you did a bigger search, you'll have multiple line items. And just like the other one, you have to select it and then associate. Can everyone see it okay? Is it large enough?
Looks great there.
All right. So then we've associated it. So now everything we do forward from here is going to be associated with this particular transfer request. So once we have done this to associate the shipment properties, we go to the data files tab. And this is all in those instructions. On this left side, you will see a file structure that mirrors your computer. So if you have your stuff in the C or the D drive, and then any attached physical attached drive. Unfortunately, if you have it in a shared network, it cannot pick it up at this point. So you have to drag and drop them onto your workstation. So I go down and I navigate to where the files are that you have set up ahead of time. I should probably just go back. Because we have this all happen like the approval and trying to get this set up, I don't have all of the mission ops files. All I have are the CSV files, and they're going to finish the transfers later, hence multiple packages. But what I have done is I set up a folder for everything that I want to move over. And I left some extraneous data in here so that I can also show you if you've got a big folder, you can also take out other things by dragging and dropping it. So this has been set up ahead of time. So if you've got the rest of your files, you'd also set up the file structure that you want. For instance, if you have because the transfer request has multiple items, say you're transferring major reviews and you've got a CDR in there, and say you've got also on this TR you have specifications, also on this TR you might have some configuration management files. What I tend to do is set up a file structure that breaks it into those things. So I'd have a major reviews folder, I'd have a specifications folder, and then I'd have the configuration management folder. And then under it, if you need to further subdivide it, because it will pull that entire folder structure over, and that will also help them as they're building, their electronic file system on the NARA side. So a question about setting up the folder structure. Okay. So like I said, this is all set up ahead of time. So I'm ready. Now when I'm looking over here, I can find this. And mine was on my desktop. And as we saw, it was in this TR demo. And I was 109. You can navigate here. You cannot do mission or anything else on this through the ERA web interface. But I can see that I've got all of them here, and I said, oh, I've got this extra one. Now, I can pull these over one by one, or I can pull over the whole thing. So, and you can open it or close it, and it'll pull it over either way. So I'm just going to pull the whole thing over. And then it tells you up at the top that there were 8 files and how big it was. And I can open it over here, and of course you can see this, it's the exact same thing. This particular folder has an extra item in it because it also has a copy of the PDF of the TR. Well, obviously that doesn't need to go. So if you use your mouse and right click, it'll allow you to remove this from the shipment. So I'm going to take this out. And of course it gives you the error message so that you want to be sure you want to remove it. And I say yes. Now even if I remove it over here, it's still in your computer, so you don't have to worry about that. So now I have 7 files, which is the correct amount that I want. That is my package that I'm building. As we were building the packages, again, I had trouble. I have a Mac, and my Mac would not build the packages. So I had to get a loaner PC and do this under a Windows environment. And because it's a loaner, it doesn't have a whole lot of firepower. So I tended to kind of watch the size and build the packages in some reasonable size. If it got much bigger than 600 or 700 megabytes, it tended to really crunch out, and once in a while I get an error message. Those error messages will also show up on your front screen, on that home screen where we saw the approval. But I just had to try it again. Not a busy time, and it seemed to do fine. So,
Hey, Dawn.
Go ahead.
This is Patty. And you may have already said, and I didn't catch it, I see that these are all .csv files, and typically I know we transmit indexes of what's in the records transfer with a .csv format. Are these indices of the actual records themselves, or are the Mission Ops records actually spreadsheets that have been converted to CSV, so these are the records themselves?
These are actually the indexes. Okay. And this is what we decided we could demo this morning.
And did you explain that and I missed it? I'm sorry.
I don't know if I explained it well enough.
Okay. So let me just interject here for the benefit of everyone on the WebEx. As you know, we're required to provide the National Archives with indices or an index of the records that we're actually transferring. In the old days, that was a box listing, and now, of course, we've seen them in 2 different flavors. Some have been in Word documents, and others are in Excel spreadsheets, neither of which the archives accept. So if you have your listing of the records indexes in Excel, you simply save it as a .csv file. It's an easy thing to do. Or you can convert it to .csv. And Word, you just need to save it as a PDF. So those are the 2 formats that they'll accept the indices in. So what Bob is saying is that these are not the actual records, these are the indices, but they'll be transferring the actual records using one of these methods or on external media. Okay, that's it. Go ahead, Mark.
And I should also add, before we didn't have the option to attach the CSVs to the transfer request when we were going through the approval cycle. So the only way they got the CSVs were here in the shipment content, in the packages that we submitted. Because we were so close to the end and we didn't get clear direction from Sharmila if she wanted them on the transfer request or if she still wanted them here, we left it in both places. Now the other thing that we did, and I don't know if Patty knows this, because when we submitted the TR, we had noticed, some, slight deviation or change, we might also have said something like updated, baseline, blah, 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 blah. So that if they then looked at it, they might, it might click to them and it's like, oh, this CSV file was updated since they had, originally sent the TR. So anyway, I don't know that you will have to continue doing the CSVs, but we just continue doing them because we did have a couple of tweaks, and it's very clear that they go with each of the folder structures. All right, so once we've got it over here, it's the package that we want. Again, you can have multiple file folders over here. You know, it could be very elaborate. And so once I'm here, I go back to the build. You can leave it open or close, it doesn't matter.
Well, can you change that file name under the shipment content? Can you change the TR109 CSV? Can you change that title?
Not here. You would have to do it before you do it over here.
So the reason I ask is because it seems to me it would make a lot more sense for the archives if that folder title were TR109 records indices or something like that. Because some of the records themselves could feasibly be CSV files.
Yeah, and we could do that. That was one of the things that they didn't give us a whole lot of feedback on. Probably, to be honest, I don't know how much they've set up of the stuff that we have sent, or how much they haven't set up.
You mean as far as their processing once you've uploaded it?
Once we send it over there, they actually, put everything in the file structure yet.
Yeah, I don't know. But are you going to actually upload these?
I was. Do you want me to change that name of that? I don't know how to back out.
I would really don't. And that's actually a good demo thing anyway. Oh, you have to totally leave it?
You have to do it on here, and then depending, what did you say, indices is what you wanted to see?
Records indices or something. Yeah, records indices. I think that's much more descriptive.
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry.
So then we'll go back, and we have to renew, so we're removing the whole thing. And we'll start over. Now, this is where I've had differing success. Sometimes it refreshes very well, sometimes I have to go all the way back up to the beginning, but we'll see how well it refreshes. If I have to go back to the beginning, I will.
I would imagine that if it didn't refresh, you could just hit your refresh button up at the top.
I can try it.
Because I think I've refreshed some things in ERA when I was working in it.
If I do that, it goes all the way back to the beginning. But
oh my word.
that's okay. It's fairly quick when you've got a little one.
Okay.
Okay, so we've reassociated it. We'll go back to the data file. We'll go back and pull this up.
Really? Sure. No, it's not bad.
Desktop. And here it shows up with the new. Alright, and again, we can look, and I still have to take this out. Alright, so at this point, we're happy with the name, we're happy with the content. We're going to go ahead and generate the container. The instructions it has, and I believe it creates this ERA folder, and the instructions we have and the instructions it had, I believe, had it go to this ERA folder. It doesn't need to go here, but it was just easy for me to keep everything in a logical place, and so everything I knew that was going to the ERA, all these packages or containers, are here. You do not do anything else. You do not give it a file name. It generates it for you. So all you have to do is get to the folder and then save. Because this is tiny, it comes back very quickly. If it was a 600 meg, it would take a little while to chunk through and actually generate the container.
And Barb, you did that so quickly. I didn't see what you clicked in order to get that saved. What did you click to create your build?
Over here,
build generate
containers.
Okay.
Just went to the folder that I wanted to generate it in, and did this, and then click save.
Okay.
Do it again, and it'll create another one. It won't hurt anything. It just
no, that's okay. Well, so where did that? Is that now within ERA?
Yeah, it is in my computer under the ERA folder, and I will show you what it is.
Okay, thanks.
What it is actually doing at this point. go back here to show you where it is. What is actually done, so here's the same folder structure, here's my ERA, and if you look at the date, sorry, I know this isn't as big as I'd like it to be, but it built this ERA package that ends in .era, and as you can see, it's got the TR9 in it. So the one we just created here at 9:34 on the 29th is TR this, and it's actually got, the timestamp in here. And then there's another way. Terry did it because her computer has a better processor than mine because mine's a loaner. It will actually also, if you have something that is larger than 1 gig, it will actually subdivide it out, and then it will do a -0, -1, -2, and arbitrarily break it about at that one gig size. And Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but so it can do it, or you can do it, because like I said, my computer was kind of not so great. I broke it, and then I kept track of which, because the packages, like I said, we're going to create a couple of different packages for 109 and a couple of different ones for 108. I actually had the packages not go through all the way, so I had to be able to know, is this 93452, was that just the indices, or was that actual data? Which one did I have to recreate or redo? So you sort of have, so I kind of like knowing where my packages were and what package was which. But that was just me. Maybe I'm a control freak.
Hey, Barb. On that note, I remember Shamila telling us that, reminding us that we could do multiple uploads of records underneath a single TR. Is that what she's talking about? Okay.
So these could all be the same TR, and we could move them all individually over, and that's fine. So you could have multiple packages or multiple containers. So this one's complete. What this actually is, just so you know, because I also had to know when I talked to the help desk, it's actually a zip file of those files, so of those 7 files that is created, within another zip file where they've added some details. I think there's there's a XML file in here. So you could do one second. Let me do that. This is an old one, and maybe it'll work. I've had multiple success with it. So you see, it's actually a zip file. It's renamed it. This is an old one I'm pulling up. And I'm showing you what it's built. It's built, this zip file, this would happen to be 92, and then it has 3 files that explain it as it's unpackaging it on their side. But one of the things the help desk told me is if you're building a package and it doesn't end in ERA and it still has zip, then the packaging wasn't successful. So you need to watch for that ERA at the end. Yes.
This is Pamela. So the ERA folder, you created this yourself, right? It's not something that the ERA system did.
No, I actually think it did it for me.
Okay.
Because I don't remember creating it. I think it did it for me, but and it always seems to put it at that home place. One up from the. Like I said, here's my desktop, here's my document. So it's not something that I can easily find here on my desktop. I have to go up a level on my computer.
But that ERA folder you created, correct?
No, that's what Pamela just asked. I think she created that for me.
Really?
The very first time I came in.
Oh. On your desktop?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure, because and Terry, do you remember when you first did it?
I remember the ERA folder being an option on the screen, but when I did my packaging, I always chose my desktop.
Okay, so you went somewhere
I
else.
was organizing everything. So, like I said, on that little screen where you showed the ERA folder, I would have put the desktop folder, and then it showed to my desktop.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. That was just how I organized mine. Terry organized hers on her desktop. So, but it will create that for you. Okay, so like I said, you have to do this regardless of either of the two methods you do. So then, once that's done, we are no longer needing to be in this www.eranar.gov site. So you have to log out. You cannot be in both sites at the same time. Now what we were going to do is we were going to take one of those ERA files for 108 and transfer them via the HTTPS, and then I was going to have Terry do the other one and show you how much easier it is with the SFTP for the second set.
But are those transmitted to the archive now, those that you just did?
Yes.
When did they go?
When would they go?
No, when did they go? When did they go?
We're going to do that right now.
Oh, you mean they're not uploaded yet?
No, all we've done is create the
And
package.
they're just sitting there in your file?
Correct.
Okay, so now you're going to do the rest of your process before Terry does hers, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
So now, here's your, if then else. If you want to go HTTPS, this is the route you go. So you have to go to this ingest site, which is, it's the exact same user ID and password, but it is a different one, which is why you have to, get out of the other one. And it looks the same, and I hate that it looks the same, but you just have to know where you are and make sure that you get out. My fingers crossed. I got the right password. And if you're ever confused about where you are, the ingest site only has this tools as an option. So the other one, as you notice, has create, I forgot what they were, search, create, and then tools. So it has two options under here. Again, this is only for the HTTP. So the first thing you have to do is upload it, and then you have to actually transfer it. So we're going to go ahead and upload the one we just created, 109. And again, you have to associate.
Hey, Barb, you want to make your view a little larger on these screens?
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks.
Edward?
Yes. Yes.
So I typed it in and I searched. Now they don't, their software isn't real great, so it'll be off center now, so you just have to watch the columns. And it shows me that 109 is here. Now I'm going to browse from my ERA file, the .era that's associated with TR109. Again, I know all of mine are on my computer, and Terry had put hers on her desktop, so you just go wherever it is that you created yours. And if you've been generating lots of them, you might have to do a date one to find out, which it is. Always double check to make sure it's got the 109. You have to do them one at a time if you're going through here. And this is one of the things that's more advantageous when you do the SFTP. So if I had all three of these that were associated with this package, I have to do them one at a time. So I click it, I open it, it now puts it in here, and I submit it. And what that is doing is it's taking, and again, it was tiny, so it didn't take very long. It's taking that set of files that we just built on my computer, and it's moving it into their temporary working storage so that they can do the virus scan and check the files, you know, and then do some preliminary scans on it. You get this message that says it's been successful, and then if you have another one, you go and you browse for it, pull it, do it, you know, et cetera, so however many you have to do.
This is Debbie Wills at Marshall. Quick question. What happens if something comes up and you get interrupted? Can you maybe tomorrow, you know, put in a few of them today and then tomorrow finish up, or?
Absolutely. The only thing is, and I should have said, when you're doing this, I am hardwired. You have to be connected. You can do this through your tokens, you know, through external, but you have to get all that stuff set up ahead of time with NARA. It's not just our site, it's with NARA. But if you've got a hard wireless, it's going to be much faster. This one was, you know, less than, you know, 1 meg. I don't even remember how many kilobytes it was. I mean, it was tiny. So this one went like that. But we've waited, you know, for half an hour or more to actually get all of those files transferred when we've had 600 or 700 meg.
And does that simply tie up your computer, or can you do other things while it's working?
You can do other things. You just have to make sure the computer doesn't log off or you don't lose your connection. So once I've done that, again, I do it for all my files, and this is the step I cannot finish because Mission has more files as well. The last step you do after you have transferred all of those and uploaded them all into the working storage is you go to the second option under here, which is Initiate Transfer Processing, and I'll do everything but hit the Go button. So 109. Find it. And what this basically says is list all my files that are under CR109. I can do that. And if you have 5 packages, or 20, or 4, or 1, it's going to list them here. And then at the bottom, you have 2 options. This is, you can delete the files, in which case you start all over from scratch, or you can process the files, and that's the last step, which basically takes it from the working storage and puts it into the final site. I have never used this delete files. I will go through ERA help if I ever had something that I got up there by mistake, just to make sure it gets completely cleaned out. So I wouldn't touch this one. But once all of the ERA files are over here, the last thing you do is process it, and then it chunks and chunks and chunks and carrier. And I'll also tell you this, and this is the thing you don't have to worry about. The magic is going on, and it's officially moving it from their temporary work site into their final site. You don't have to do anything here. I mean, at this point, you can go away from your computer. It doesn't matter because everything that's happening is happening at their site. But you have no visibility into it until the very end. Using the HTTPS only, when you go back to the front, again, I am not going to push this because Mission has the rest of the files to go through and do. But let's just say they had done it, and they went away, and they came back. You go to the home screen, you'll get your messages again, and you can see which ones have completed successfully. So we look for CR 109 has completed successfully and the date.
Barb, this is Chelsea. I have a question for you. You loaded it to a temporary or a holding location so that they could do virus protection.
But then if I'm following correctly, from there we moved it into another location at NARA. Is that correct? That's correct. And we don't pick those, and I say we don't pick because Terry's going to show you we actually do pick, but they set it up, and we're not telling it where to go to or from in this particular application using HTTPS. Okay, so there's no delay from that temporary location that we loaded to. We don't have to wait so many days or anything while they do whatever they do to it, and then we move it over. We just load it there first and then move it over? Yeah, as soon as you get that message that we saw that said the ERA was successful, let's see if I can, I should have one on this. Wrong one, sorry about that. And you're going to email out that ERA-TR sketch version 12 file? Yes. That looks very helpful. This is the message. This was one that I had created that I didn't have. You'll get a successfully uploaded, blah, 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 ERA message at the top when you did that first step. As soon as you've done that, the files are physically at NARA, but they have not been released, and they're still in a state of, you can still fix them and move them and delete them, add to them. So you just have to continue to get those successfully uploaded messages. And then you're, like I said, when you're all done, you initiate the transfer processing. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's basically what you do for the HTTPS. It's all through the menu. First you do the first one, then you do the second one. Again, you can do multiple. The upload, you do multiple packages, so you can do many. The second step is a single step, so it takes all of those packages and does it as a whole entity. Okay, so that's where I was going to end here, and then pass the ball to Sherry so that she can show you kind of a little bit easier approach that you may also like, and it's definitely one that you have to use for some of the larger ones. If there's no more questions, then you can come back and ask questions later if you want. All right, Terry, I'm going to pass the ball then.
Okay, ready.
So is that something I have to do, Barb, or can you do it?
I can do it.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to mute and let you talk, Terry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so everyone see our desktop okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect, thank you. Looking at the top of a hurricane. About the SFTP, for those of you who haven't been to previous meetings where we've already discussed this, there's two things that you have to do with your center. You have to secure a static IP address, and you have to secure a hole in your firewall. And your information support can help you with all of that. Once you have done that, the software that we are using is this icon. I'm not sure if it's technically called switch or IP switch. It is the one that is shown in the NARA SFTP training. It can be downloaded for a 30-day free trial if your center just wanted to give it a try before they actually purchase the software. But once you have all that set up and you've downloaded the software, then as far as a daily routine, all you have to do is double-click on this icon. It takes just a moment to load. You'll usually get a little tip. And it logs you directly into ERA. And you can see right now it is connecting.
So while it's connecting, Terry, did JSC have to buy that software?
Actually, since we were doing everything in such a rush, we did manage to get everything done in the 30-day.
So it had to be purchased?
Actually, we used the 30-day free trial.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
because everything, like I said, because everything was so compacted at the end, and there were four of us that were able to secure the static IP address for transfers. We just kind of coordinated amongst ourselves, and because we knew we had a very short-term effort. I don't think it's very expensive. I believe I saw at the site that maybe it's $60, something like that.
Okay.
But it's not a huge investment.
Have you anything possible to look at having headquarters purchase like an agency license or something for that?
I may have to look into that, yeah. I wasn't aware of us having to have special software that wasn't free. Okay, thanks.
You might want to check to see if it's part of the new standard load.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, this is Pam. I put in an SR yesterday. I did an Odin quote, and I'm buying 2 of these for Christy and I to use to upload to do the shovel stuff. And for 2 copies of this, it's $107. So we're buying it since I know we're not gonna get through all shovel stuff in 30 days.
Okay.
We're buying,
Okay. And let's have any further discussion on purchasing the software offline so that we can just have this demo recorded. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So the first time that you sign in, you'll see a screen that looks pretty basically like this. The left-hand side on the top is my computer, which you would see as a normal tree. It just kind of comes out a little bit different view here. On the right-hand side is ERA, and at this point I'm at the top folder level, and you'll see the names of multiple agencies here. So you just have to move down. And as you can see, there's quite a few agencies. Faster. Okay, and we need to find the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And you can see here, we're in the NASA top-level folder. So these are the TR numbers, all the TR numbers that have been submitted for NASA. And the one that we're going to ingest today is 109. So here's the folder. So I know that I have it on my desktop. That's my preference. That's where I like to work from, is my desktop. And you can see right here, I have this long name.
You're 108.
Oh, 108, yes. I was just going to say that. Actually, I'm 108 because I have it here on my desktop. So always verify your number. And you open the folder. There are 2 folders there. The second folder has the .expert extension. You actually cannot open that folder, so I presume that is for NAR purposes. Okay, let me tell you about the bottom of the screen real quickly before I do the transfer. This first tab is the Transfer Manager. Once I click and start this is where you'll see the progress. And then the next screen is your transfer history. And I'll talk about that in a minute and kind of show you where I did multiple. So all we need to do here is highlight, because there's only one for this particular package. If we had 6, if we had 8, we could highlight the whole list. And see, that went very, 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 very quickly because it is such a small package. If it was a larger package, you would have kept that progress bar. If it was multiple packages, the top progress bar would show you the time remaining for the entire effort, and then below that would show you a progress bar for each of the individual packages. When it completes, it does show the package here is now in the folder. If you need to verify, make sure everything got there, then you can compare the name and also compare their sizes.
And Terry, and the reason that this one is so small, is it also just the index of the records that you're going to transfer?
Yes, because that's all we had to work with this morning.
Okay.
Some that I did were as large as, say, 6 gigs, I think, was the biggest one that I did. So this screen kept moving. You can actually see what was processing and how much time you had left for each package to complete. Then once it's completed, then it will appear here in your transfer history. And this is the one we did today. Again, you can, right here, you can reference the TR number to see exactly which one you did and the size. You can see here before, when I did 90, it had multiple packages. I started all those packages at one time, and the tool went through and completed them in succession. As soon as it finished the first one, it kicked off the second one. As soon as it finished the second one, it kicked off the third one. Same thing with 86 when I did the ingestion for Ed. And then when you're done, all you do is close the window. And that's really it for the SFTP processing. So any questions on this one?
Yeah, this is Tim. I have a question. I'm looking at 90. It said you started at, what, 3:56, and it ended at 7 o'clock at night?
Yes, I just left it running on my machine.
So you just leave it running and walk away from it?
Exactly. I just locked my desktop, so no one could else could sign in, and left it running, and it was finished the next morning when I came in, and I had the verification on my screen.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, that's really all I have.
Question. This is Rhonda Levine.
This is.
Okay, the transfer and the indexes. When do you actually transfer the records?
Okay, well, for this morning's demonstration, all we had was the indexes to use as an example because we have completed our activities. Normally, this data file that we're looking at would be our record. Okay, and since I mentioned 90 in my history, I'll show you what the contents of that same folder looks like now. And these are our actual records. Okay.
And folks in Catherine's organization actually have the records, and they'll be uploading as a rest.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all I had. Like I said, this is a very simple tool for transferring in, and the best thing I can say about it is you can watch the process. You can actually see what's happening. You're not sitting in front of a white screen waiting for that little success box to pop up.
But if you're transferring large volumes, does it, just like the other process, take quite a long time, or is this faster, do you think?
This was averaging, I do remember, because I did write down the time. This was averaging about 2 hours a gigabyte. So it was pretty lengthy. But if you think about how big a gigabyte is, and that it's a secure transfer directly into the NAR archive folder, then it was well worth the time. Like Pam pointed out, for 90, let's see, looks like I started it. Anyway, I started it at
The very last point.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I left my computer glasses open. I started it in the afternoon, and it ran for 3 hours. You see the file sizes. This was a pretty large group.
This was like 4-point-something gig, if I recall.
So did you just go home and let it continue running, or did you stay?
No, I just went home and left it running.
I'm sorry. I had put that for a moment. Debbie Wills, I know they demoed these methods for group here at Marshall recently. Can you think of any other questions that came up that were helpful to get answers to?
No. They didn't get to go to an actual transfer last time, so there was more information this time, which is good. The question I had was, do you have to use that particular WFFTP, the Ipswich version, or can some use another brand? Or?
Our IM, Ellen Tansey, talked to ERA at one point, and the help desk also told me at one point it does not have to be this specific software. It can be something similar. But since this was the one that appears in the how-tos that STAR has available, we went ahead and went with this one. But if you have other similar software types available, then you could probably talk to ERA about the use of that. And I imagine they all work very closely, or very much like one another.
So I may look into that actually when I start raising questions about purchasing that. I need to see if we have something on the standard road that would be close. Thanks.
And Patty and everyone, there is one thing that Terry and I have never done. That's like I would make packages and then I hand them over to her and she'd go ahead and, because again, the packaging had to be done either way, but we never mixed and matched, like doing half of it via HTTPS and half of it during this SFTP. So we do not know if that works. We chose one method for each TR. So just as a warning, or something for someone else to try.
Thank you so much, Barb and Terry. Are there any other questions from anybody? Well, I so appreciate you guys taking time to do this for us before you head on to other endeavors next week. And I also just want to say how much I really appreciate all the pathfinding that you've done for the agency and getting your records transferred. It's really going to benefit all the centers. So appreciate it so much, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, I'll get out word. I'll have a list of all the attendees, and I will get out word to handouts. Thanks so much. Bye.